And terrific. Thank you, Vicki. The first order of business on the agenda this evening is to approve the April 2022 minutes. Randy circulated them, so hopefully everybody's read them over, and they're now entered into for consideration for approval. So are there any comments, corrections? Yes, Julie?
Just, I read them very quickly right before the meeting and I saw a few typos. So, Randy, if you haven't seen those, I can send you a document tomorrow.
All right. Anybody else? I didn't catch the typos, so that tells you
Me either.
something about my editing skills. Okay, hearing nothing else, I've moved that we approve the minutes from April 2022 with the typos corrected. All of those in favor, say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, terrific. We've adopted the minutes. The next thing are resolutions for the 414 campaign. And Liz, am I turning it over to you now at this point?
I don't think so. I wasn't prepared for that, but I believe somebody sent out something that said what we had to approve. It was in my email.
Yeah, it's there.
Liz,
So,
do you have all the petitions with you?
Yes, I have the petitions and I've got them all organized. I'm going to call Beth Ann tomorrow, as long as we get it approved tonight, and take them into her next week.
What you need to do, I've got an email from Judy and she asked that you hold up the petitions
Oh, okay.
prior to the vote. That shows the completeness of the collection of the signatures.
I don't understand what you just said.
yeah, we're not gonna go through page by page. Why don't you just,
Oh, you want me to
Hold them up to us. Don't hold them up from submitting them. Hold them up so we
I
can
thought
see
you meant
them.
hold them up.
I know.
I
I did too. I
Let me
did
just
too.
go and grab some and you can see them.
Okay.
hey Linda, Romeo.
Hey,
Hey,
Linda.
and
sorry,
Linda.
I'm on my phone again.
Linda, we don't see your face.
Good.
If you don't see it,
Face. We
that means
like
I
your
can't
face.
see it, so that's good.
Okay.
Great.
Dottie reviewed them with me too. We both went over them. We're gonna go over them one more time before we submit them. But I've organized them. I put the lists that we used to collect them with the ones that we did use the list for. Some of them are all over the place, so the list doesn't help. But in case it makes it easier for her, I will offer that to her. If it makes it easier for her to check them. And I'm gonna put the ones that are all over the place in the back because she only has to get to 234. So I'm assuming she doesn't have to check every signature if she only needs to approve 234.
How many do we have, Liz?
Oh, we have over 300.
Woo-hoo.
So
Woohoo!
I
Yeah.
think Dottie has one more sheet she's bringing over Friday. I think she has a few more. We're gonna continue to collect signatures until they're approved.
Oh,
Because
okay.
That's
You-
smart.
They couldn't tell me under what circumstances they rejected them because she'd never done them before.
Oh.
So, I don't see any reason for them to be rejected, but who knows? So we just keep collecting them. But we're not gonna go out anymore. We're not going door to door, just at the events. We'll collect them at the events until it's approved. Yes, Beth?
I know I sound like a broken record, but when you bring them in,
Yeah,
you're gonna have an appointment with her. You're gonna physically
yeah, I'm
hand
gonna
them to
call
her.
tomorrow and ask for an
Yeah.
appointment.
Tomorrow? Oh, yeah, I think, I don't
She's
know.
not
what
in
days.
today. She's not in today.
Yeah. I strongly urge you to get a date that she's going to get them back to you.
Mhm.
She's notorious for letting them sit in a pile somewhere. My other sense is she has an assistant, which blows my mind since she doesn't get stuff done. My sense is that someone else is gonna be doing it in her office,
Mhm.
you know, and she'll sign off on it or whatever has to be done. My sense is that she's not gonna be the one to do the work,
Well,
but let her tell you whatever, but
that's why we thought we'd have an appointment and go over it with her and show her what we did, and
are you going in with someone else?
Dottie's gonna go with me. I got
Okay,
Dottie.
two sets of ears, because
Yeah.
it'll end up being a, I told you and you know, whatever. Just be very firm as to getting a date as to when she's gonna get everything back to you.
Okay,
Or she's gonna get you your answer, or when they're approved.
Yep.
Okay, I
yep,
hate to sound negative, but I just don't trust her.
Well, and that also points out that we need to be clear with Beth Ann what happens to them once she has reviewed them and done whatever she needs to do, where they go next.
oh, that's
We-
good, yeah,
Yeah, so
Right,
we need to make sure we understand that end of the process as well.
Where do they go next? Do you know?
To the
no,
County Board of Elections, I believe, but we should confirm that.
yeah,
With the 414, let's make sure this comes up at the 414 committee meeting on Tuesday.
yeah. It's, and they're at Board of Elections, they're like off the wall, because they've got 4 elections. They've got to plan and run between now and August.
Yep.
So,
well,
We
we're planning,
we have friends there though, so.
yep, we do.
if we can get her to approve them, they can get them early.
Exactly, exactly.
So
Okay,
Liz, when you take the petitions there, Judy provided a letter that has to come from me. I think it goes with the petitions,
Oh, okay,
and it lays out every board member that approved tonight's resolution and the number of pages you're submitting and the number of signatures, and then I sign it. So
okay,
we'll have to get together on that.
yeah, yeah.
okay,
And I'll
terrific,
make copies of everything before I give it to her also. I'll make copies of all the petitions.
good.
Yeah, I don't want to give her my only copy.
Yeah, that's savvy.
Yes,
Randy, I'm gonna move on to the resolution now, right? Okay. So this is a resolution of the Board of Trustees of the North Chatham Free Library. There'll be a list of who is present, constituting this quorum. And I'm making the following motion that will need to be second and then voted upon. So I move that the following resolution, and I'm going to read it now and then ask for a second. Where the following resolution be approved by this board. Whereas there has been presented to the Board of the Trustees of the North Chatham Free Library a petition signed by qualified voters of the town of Chatham in a number exceeding 10% of the total votes cast for the governor in the town of Chatham at the last gubernatorial election, asking that the following question be placed upon the ballot and voted upon at the next general election of the town of Chatham. Shall the annual contribution of the town of Chatham for the operating budget of the North Chatham Free Library be increased by $35,000 to the sum of $100,000? And whereas the endorsement of this Board of Trustees of the North Chatham Free Library is required before such question may be placed upon the ballot, now therefore be it resolved that this Board of Trustees hereby endorses the petition presented to and directs the following question be voted on at the next general election of the town of Chatham. Shall the annual contribution of the town of Chatham, we have a typo here, Randy. We have an extra space and then a lacking one. Contribution of the town of Chatham for the operating budget of the North Chatham Free Library be increased by $35,000 to the sum of $100,000. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
second,
All right, Liz and Betsy tied, so Randy, pick one. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the vote. All those in favor of the resolution, say aye and raise
Aye.
your right hands.
Aye.
Aye.
And it is unanimous. Thereupon, the resolution was passed by a vote of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 to nothing.
Rick, just so I make sure that I have the language right, you read the resolution. Are you reading it? Are you putting forward the resolution as a motion?
Yes, the resolution was put forward and seconded. The resolution is a motion.
Okay,
So it was moved, seconded, and unanimously approved. Okay, cool. That's done. Let's go back to the agenda.
All right, that's great. There was a little typo I saw, but I'll add that to what I'm doing tomorrow morning.
so the typos, the agenda that you received today do have the corrected. I changed resolved to resolved, and the letters that were bunched up when the town of Chatham were written in the two different locations, I separated those out. So tonight's agenda that you received today did have the correction.
Oh, I'm
But
working
either-
off, sorry, I'm working off the older one apparently.
Okay, either way, it's language that Rick read that matters anyway.
Good. Super.
Okay.
All right. Terrific. Well, we're committed now. Moving on, Vicky, the library director's report, please.
Sure.
Oh, there is a discussion about getting out the vote. Sorry, Vicky, it's still
No,
under
I-
414.
That's what I thought.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I talked to Judy about that this evening. We're gonna need to open a bank account for Friends of the North Chatham Library, North Chatham Free Library. And we're gonna have to raise another $800 to $900 in order to market and advertise for passage of the 414. So the 414 committee has it on their agenda for Tuesday, and we will be discussing the ways we think we can move forward on that, including opening a separate bank account at the Bank of Greene County for the Friends of the North Chatham Free Library, so we can keep the money segregated. Now, and that's because we're not allowed to use any of the library's operating funds or reserves to advocate for the passage of the 414 referendum. So, and we'll also be discussing about how we're going to do some educational marketing versus advocating for votes at the 414 meeting as well. So, okay. So Kathleen did supply an estimate. There's about $2,100. It includes a mailing, advertising at the Crandall, other signage, and things like that. So we'll discuss it further and come back to the board with the final plan of action to raise that money for the advocacy. All right.
Thanks.
Now I
Rick.
think I'm ready. All right, Vicky, over to you.
Okay. Randy does have this written, so I'll just try to go quickly for you. We installed a new wireless router access point, wireless Wi-Fi here through the American Rescue Plan Act. We got that through the Mid-Hudson Library. They had done the grant and we said yes. That's extended our Wi-Fi speed and our range. So that's inside the library, and anybody who's sitting outside, that'll help that. Now we put the one that we already owned, the Arrow Hive, downstairs. So now there's going to be better reception down there. I know there's been complaints about that before. So that'll increase that coverage down there. The Columbia County Fair is coming up, and we'll be discussing on Friday at the Columbia County Libraries Association if we want to man a table. It has to be an all or nothing kind of thing. So usually we had been responsible for 6 hours at the fair. If one library pulls out, then we'd probably have to divvy up all the other hours. And I just want to know, raise hand, who might, go there for 2 hours. I think you get in free, but you have to sit. Oh, thanks, Liz.
I'll go, Vicky.
Thank you. I don't want to cover the whole 6 hours. That's just too much.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Sorry, about that, so you're not there every day? You're only there one day?
No, we're there the whole time, but there are 11 libraries in the association. So we divvy up the whole time. We have to agree to having our table manned the whole time.
But it's a collective table. It's not just for North Chatham.
Columbia County Libraries.
Okay,
The
so
whole-
I was looking at it as an opportunity to start talking about get out the vote.
You can do that.
Yeah.
You probably can't if there's other libraries there.
But only one library would be staffing it at a time.
Ah,
Oh,
It's hard, Betsy, it's very hard at the fair because 90+% of the people are not from the town of Chatham.
Yeah, true. And the ones who are, 90% of them probably don't vote. So, yeah, I don't know. Okay.
Actually, it's worked out pretty well, in the past. I mean, we were next to the Rifle Association, which wasn't the best place. But anyways,
No, it wasn't. My husband bought a ticket, a raffle ticket, and won a damn rifle.
Oh, my God.
oh my goodness.
What kind of rifle?
I don't know. We don't use it. I don't even know where it is. It's stashed away someplace.
hey, maybe we can raffle it off.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We should do that.
Will somebody else,
Yeah, I'll
wanna
take
go
a
there?
shift.
You'll take a
Vicky,
shift?
I'll take a shift as well.
So we're signing up for a 2-hour shift one
Yeah.
day?
I think that, no, 1 2-hour shift.
For the whole fair.
For the
Yeah.
whole, that,
Yeah.
Our day would be a 6-hour day. And we can break that into 2 hours, 2 hours, 2 hours. Unless I go to the meeting and there's, Livingston
Oh.
pulls out, in which case we might be 7 hours. But, so that's, Liz, Rick, that's 2, 4, Kathleen. Marco. Yay!
It does get you for free if you ever go to the
Yes.
fair. You can go that day.
That's right.
okay, I haven't been in a while. Is it in the big building?
Yeah.
Whatever we used
Yeah.
to call that?
The
Mhm.
central hall, yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's nice. It's not terribly busy, but we have a few handouts. A few people stop. You talk to them about libraries and your library in particular. And
Can we get out the vote then or not?
I don't
Is
know.
that-
or not.
I am not sure.
I am
Okay.
never
Brandy
clear.
says no.
Who says no?
I guess
Right.
I'll bring it up at the meeting. Rebecca will meet at our meeting on
Okay.
Friday. I'll ask them.
Oh, that's
That would
good.
be good to
Don't
know.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't see why not.
I mean, if we have everybody doing 1 hour, we can have everybody go.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put in an hour. That's no big deal.
Sweet.
yeah. I put in an hour.
It's a lot easier and it may be up to whatever time they close. I don't remember if it was 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Do you remember, Liz?
They used to be open till 10. But the time I manned the table, I went with Diane in the afternoon. We probably did 4 to 6 or something like that.
I think I had to close last time. I mean,
Yeah.
I can stay awake that long.
Unlike some of us.
If I have to. Okay, thank you very much. So both employees are working out okay. We're still, just doing that's Nancy Dilly and Suzanne Cardinal.
So who are these, Vicky? Who are these people, please? I don't know anything about them, and I don't know if other board members do either.
Nancy Dilly is, do you want me to, well, Randy met her and she referred her, and that was a great idea. She's actually the president of her own hometown library before she moved out here to take care of her mother, and she still is, of the Friends of the Library. So she's got some experience with libraries. She's worked before in libraries. She'd been living and working in Alaska right previous to this. Before that, it was Minnesota.
I met her exactly 56 days ago at the blood donation.
Oh,
Ah,
Right.
You still have that on?
I donated today. That's why I was late for the signing in.
And she's very particular, and she does a nice job, and I'm really happy to have her here.
Great.
And the other person is Suzanne Cardinal. So we divided Diana Rupp's job into two places. Most of it is being done by Nancy Dilly, the publicity, the registration, and some circulation is being done by Suzanne Cardinal. And she lives up on Bunker Hill. She works at the Nassau Library. So she already had experience. Yeah, she already had experience with Sierra. And she's very good with computers. And so we're doing more work with Google Docs. So I'm happy about both of them.
that's
Great.
good.
Yeah.
Great.
So the Fridays for Kids is still going. We have more kids all the time. That's a growing program. That's been nice. We try not, I have not had it occur on days when we didn't have school. I didn't know we didn't have school this Friday, so I didn't put out a word that it wasn't happening, so it might. The museum, MySci, actually canceled on us twice because somebody was sick and this and that. So our last day with that program will be May 27th. And that's the silly putty, who can make, it's a chemistry. Summer programs, we're working on those. We're still trying to do most of the things. Thursday at 4 p.m. It's called Oceans of Possibilities. It's still a work in progress, but Mad Scientist, Black and Blue, Animal Embassy, which is always wonderful, oil painting with Robin Guthridge, fish hand puppets with Amelia Isaac. Captain Hurricane Magic, teaching a trick. I'm hoping we're going to do the bike path again. We're going to move that to a Saturday. And I hope maybe I can, get some guys too to also just participate in that. It'll be during the day instead of at night. Canoeing on the Stockport Creek with Fran Martino. So that's a limited number of people, and it's open to any of you guys too. That'll be on July 9th. It has to be, the tide has to be exactly right. Reggie Harris with the Arts and Culture. That'll be on Sunday. Eco Cooking with Linda Romeo with Live and Learn. And then we've got some other things that are still up in the air. Rockets, tie-dyeing, watercoloring, and an adult craft program that I'd really like to do. We're trying to work on a summer reading program that we've not been able to do before. So really trying to, work on that one. And our budget sort of has changed. I guess I'll leave that to Liz to talk about what those.
Yeah, our budget used to be $2,500, and then because of COVID, it was zero for a while, and it's currently $1,500. And we really need to bring it back up to 2,500. And I didn't know if we could use some of that money that we got from the Clink or some of the, what was that other money called that we got, the money from Mid Hudson, from Vicky, what was that money?
I think you're thinking of we got money from the American Rescue Plan
Yeah,
Act
the
that Christie had put in. I think we got almost 8,000 back.
So I don't know what do we have to do to see if we can get an increase in our budget for this summer? We only had a low budget last year because we were only doing a few things and doing them outside, but looks like we're going back to a full schedule this summer.
Well, the proper way to do this is to put a request into the finance committee,
Okay,
but yeah, it's a tight window, and the finance committee just approved huge expenditures. But that's the way to go. It's got to be considered that way.
okay. So what would I do? Just send Dale an email and explaining what we wanted? Is that how I would do that, Rick?
No, you better send it to me, because right now, without a treasurer, we don't have anybody chairing the finance committee, but and I'm going to address that when we come up, and that comes up in the agenda. So send it to me for the time being, and I'll take it to the finance committee.
Okay.
And I think that's most of the things. I did try to give you a heads up on that coming, the disaster plan and stuff, Randy. I just wait on those things, the live and learn and the disaster plan.
So the disaster plan policy, I will defer to Rick on what happens there. Did you get a chance to read it?
I have not, I haven't finished reading it, but here's what needs to happen. Once I finish reading it, and once we know, and you, Randy, you as well, I would ask.
I've read it.
Then we send it to the full board, and we vote on it at the next board meeting.
Okay.
But the full board should read that thing over before we vote on it, because it's a full board adoption.
Vicky, could you tell me what the basis for it was? Is there something from Mid Hudson Library System that you use to, as a template?
That was something I think we did in 2018. It just didn't get approved when we had done those other ones, so I can't really answer that. I mean, I don't remember right now.
No
We did
problem. So-
modify it, and then Rick has made some changes too, and then I incorporated those and then sent them back to you and him. But it was also part of our annual report that we didn't, it's one of those essential policies that we're supposed to have in place. And we didn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to hit garbage and I'm hitting.
I think I will mute.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. No, I'm muting the wrong person.
I think it's David and Kathleen.
Oh, thank you. I'm,
Okay.
Mark, you'll have to unmute yourself. My fault. And then I'll wait on live and learn until you want.
All right, I gotta go back. Sorry. I'm toggling between documents here. That's your report, Vicky?
Yes.
All right, terrific. Thank you. I don't know if we have a report tonight on the long-range plan. Isn't Dottie chairing that effort?
Well, I think Dottie is chairing it. I'm not positive. What happened was that we decided that, what happened was that we were starting on the strategic plan, and then we got involved with 414, and we've made a decision that it's too much to do both. And so we're waiting until the following year, next year, after the vote, to address long-range plan. We just had to table it.
Okay, I think that's fine. Let's get the 414 under our belt.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, and when that's over, we'll invite Dottie back to the board meetings to report on the long-range plan.
Yes, and we had started the Turning Outward program. Along with the long-range plan, that looks like a wonderful program. I'm hoping they'll repeat it, but it was too much for us to do along with the 414.
Yep, same thing. So again, we'll revisit both of those things after the 414. Terrific. All right, from the Finance Committee, boy, are we lucky. Christie continues to carry on despite not being a trustee for 5 months now. And she sent a report, which I have in front of me. So to date, we've spent $20,000 and we have received an income. Hold on here. Where am I here? And total grants of the donation. Sorry, bear with me. I'm sorry. This document did not print out the way it comes off on the screen. So the bottom line is we're in fine financial shape, having spent $20,000 so far this year, budgeted to spend 28,000 at this point. So we're actually not spending as fast as we had budgeted to spend, which is a good thing. But we do have some big expenses coming up. We have the finalization of the DeAngelis property, which is going to be plantings. And we have finally finalized the legal with the DeAngelises, so that's all done. But the other big expenses, who's on the Finance Committee with me? Why am I drawing a blank on those big expenses? Oh, we did the, I know, we budgeted to do the ramp. And I think it was, what did we budget? $5,000? Is that, and it looks like it's been done, Mark.
It's done, and it came in a little over 2,800. I think that was the estimate, so we should be good on that.
All right, great. And the town of Chatham money is in as well. So we're in fine financial shape while we're treading water without a treasurer or anybody to play that role. And Christie's doing the bare minimum just to keep us afloat. But the good news is that I have found a bookkeeper. And she and Christy are going to connect. It's Heather Kowalski. And she's the bookkeeper, and this came from Linda Romeo. So Linda Romeo is a savior, an absolute savior. So Heather has agreed to take on the role. She's getting together with Christy to get the lay of the land and to get rolling on it. And we finally have somebody in place. So, well, not in place yet, but right after she talks to Christy, and she's gung-ho to do it. That's the best part too.
So a question, Rick, when Heather comes in to do the bookkeeping, will she also create a budget the way that Christy does, or is Christy for the time being going to continue doing that until?
No, we're going to look to Heather and the Finance Committee to do the budget going forward.
Okay, good.
So, that budget preparation was on the list of things, the job description she was given.
Great. That's wonderful.
All right. So we should be going forward, I would say it's May now, June, the July board meeting. It's my hope that we will have everything up and running and in place for a much more in-depth and thorough finance report from the committee in July. I think June would be lovely, but I think July is more realistic. All right, Dale can't be with us tonight, so we don't have a fundraising report from Dale, but there are two events coming up. Randy can tell you about one and I can tell you about the other. So Randy, you're up.
Yep. So the vegetable garden tour is going to take place on July 23rd. I've got good amount of helpers to help sit at the gardens. The 4 gardens on the tour are 20 Romeos, if the critters don't get it. And County Route 17, gardener number 2 will return. John Wapner's and Shelley Hefner, a neighbor to Betsy's. She lives in Old Chatham. And so all the gardens are wonderful and productive and come with various approaches to gardening. So it is definitely going to be another exciting year. I'm happy.
Awesome.
Yep.
And then
So
we're,
mark your calendars, July 23rd, and tell your friends. And I have to get a flyer to Kim soon.
all right.
Or I have to get a flyer to you soon. Really.
The other upcoming event, Kim's done great work on the marketing for, is we're recreating the pig roast. It's going to be on June 18th. It's $25 again this year, but this year you have to order in advance. There's no day of, there's no showing up. We ran very skinny on pork last time, and we're going to try to roast some more this time so we don't run at the end, but we just can't, we're not in a position to take open-ended orders for this. So we need them in advance. And the advance date is June 16th. So, and Linda Romeo is a savior once again. She's, whereas the Berry Farm can't do the cornbread and the coleslaw again this year, Linda said she would do it. So.
Aren't you glad I'm back?
I
Yeah.
was
Loving
just
it,
gonna
baby.
say, Linda,
Loving
so nice.
it. All right. We don't have, we've got to get Dottie to show up to the meetings to give reports. We don't have any report from the marketing committee. But Linda, you're on that committee with her, right? Linda Murawski. Is there anything you want to update us on?
We haven't had a meeting recently, so there's really nothing.
Oh, that reminds me. That was the other big expense. Was I think so going back to finance, looping back. Sorry, we budgeted for the bookkeeper, which was a big chunk of money. And we budgeted for the webpage, which was another big chunk of money. So we are going to run a deficit for the first time in my tenure here, which is over 2 decades. So, but then we'll rectify all of that on an early Tuesday in November. All right. Mark, buildings and grounds.
Okay, so the ramp and the rear steps we took care of. People probably noticed we have a coat on there. I have to reinstall the anti-slips, and I will do that at some point. A few people already asked me about them. Vicky came up with a possible tent purchase from Cantelli, a used tent that I have one and I repaired my own. So it might be an option. I'm going to try to go look at it this week, and it seems like maybe they want to help us out a little bit. I'll certainly work that angle. And the cost might be, it'll be less than 2 times a rental. So I think it's worth looking into and perhaps having. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it if it's worthy. Also,
Mark, how big?
20 by 30.
Okay.
And that's the one that I have. It's a good size. You can
Yeah.
you can have an event under that. It's big enough, but not too big.
Mhm.
So we'll see if it works out. That would be great. And also, Rick mentioned we've been having some real problems with the plantings for DeAngelis, which is the last sort of part of that project that we promised them. We gussied that up after the fences went in, mostly because of lack of stuff out there in the world. And then, of course, the prices have gone up significantly. So Rick and I just talked about it yesterday, actually, and I ordered 42 bare root arborvitae, which they're 6 to 12 inches tall, not 3 to 4 feet tall, like we were thinking of putting in. But given some time, they grow a foot or two a year. I think it'll at least get us something in the ground this spring, and then we'll see what happens down the road. Hopefully Jim and Priscilla will understand, because some of the bids we were getting, it was going to be thousands of dollars to get those plantings done with instant gratification.
Yeah, and we may still have to go back and buy some more mature plantings, maybe not as many, but some, just so there's something there. But let's see how we do with the arborvitae and what Jim and Priscilla think about it. But yeah.
I have a question. Aren't arborvitae one of the things that the deer love to eat?
No, these are the most resistant arborvitae.
Okay,
So,
good.
and they grow, I mean, they'll have to be trimmed unless they can grow up to 20 feet tall.
Okay.
According to the people that I spoke to, I think we'll do okay. Although if the deer are hungry, they'll eat pretty much anything.
Right.
And just as an understanding of the cost, these were on the order of $9 a piece. And the big boys, if you could get them, were closer to $100. So significant savings. And as a matter of fact, I might put out the other way we can save some money is we'll just plant these ourselves instead of getting pros. It'll just be a lot of little holes. So I might ask for some help someday when they show up, if anyone's interested in helping.
Yeah, I think we'll organize a planting day for certain.
Of course, as soon as we get their bare roots, so when I get them, and I'm sure I'll have an email telling us it's coming, but when we get them, especially with the spring being warm so far, it's incumbent that we get them in the ground as soon as possible. So maybe we'll be in touch about that. And I still have on my list the pressure washing of the building. That should be the last thing to sort of gussy up our outside structure. And I think that's about it for me.
Great. Any questions for Mark? No, the ramp and the stairs look good, so thank you. Much better. All right. Julie, you're up. Arts and culture.
Okay, I'll keep this brief, but I want to say first that we've received the money. Vicki let me know that the money had been deposited. So all the grant funds have come in for this year. And it's more than usual because we were able to apply for 2 grants. And so it's $2,150, which is great. And it's working very well for us to have Wendy Gash working on first drafts of press releases. Press releases are not easy to write. And so getting a first draft really makes a difference. And we're grateful to her for that. Our event on Sunday went really, really well. There were 39 people and lots of laughter. That was just great. And I had a really great team who helped with the setup. So we used the stage, which is really beautiful, and my own sound system. But Arnon, Rod, and Mark were great in terms of setting up and moving things, and Wilsey joined them without even being asked, just showed up, and that was great. So I'm really grateful to that team. And our next event is June 12th. That will be Karen Halverson, our neighbor here, doing a program actually inside the library. So I think we'll limit the number of people who can come for that because of COVID. But last two events, we had Malden Bridge was 29 and Sunday outdoors 39. So I think people are eager to participate in these things now. And Nancy Rothman, the actress, was great.
Awesome. That's awesome. Those are nice numbers, Julie.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good, Julie.
Very attractive programming.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm looking forward to Karen's program. She's going to display photos and talk about them, I'm assuming.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, she is. 2 series related to climate change, actually.
Oh, even better. I like it.
And then in July, we're very excited. We're having Reggie Harris again. So that'll be great. Wonderful, wonderful folk singer.
Do you have a date on Reggie Harris yet?
July 24th.
Okay. All right. Hope everybody gets those on their calendars. Anything else for us, Julie?
No, that's it.
Terrific. Thank you. All right. Vicki, do you want to give us a quick update on Live and Learn?
Sure,
What
sure,
we're
sure.
up to there?
Can I, just before I do that, so I don't forget these other things, can I do, is there a description write-up for like the press release so that I can put it onto the webpage of the pig roast and the vegetable garden and a picture? Not a poster, but something that we can put in there.
It's coming your way. Kim sent it to me and asked for it.
I have a blurb for the website and I have an image for the website, and I'll get it to you when this meeting is over.
Thanks,
I've
Kim.
just been running from one thing to the next.
That's all right. That's all right.
Right, that was okay with you, Rick, the blurb and.
Yeah, no, I just read it before the meeting. So yes, it's good to go.
Okay.
Excellent. Excellent.
I
And then I'll
wanted to
get-
get you something. I just wanted to confirm the price on if we're going to stay with the same price for the vegetable garden tour as we did last year, but I just might get consensus by email instead of waiting for the first meeting of the group.
Right. All right, that's on me.
Excellent. Excellent. And then, Rick, did you say you had financials from Christie? Are you are we gonna get those?
Sure.
Thanks. I like to know where I'm standing. Okay, perfect. All right, so enough of that. I'm sorry, those were my little lists. Live and Learn. So in May, the May program is the heat pump house visits, and that's actually going to happen in a couple weeks. That's at May 24th. In June, we have a plan for native plants, and that's on, I can tell you that one, June 15th. In July, the memoir group is also going to do another reading, and that's actually going to take place at Malden Bridge Community Center. In September, we've got Medicaid 101. I don't know why we call it that, but we have Medicaid coming back. And we got $1,000 for the grant that from the Fund of Columbia. No, wait a minute. The one that Rick wrote last time. Thank you, Rick.
Bank of Greene County.
Yes, Bank of Greene County. Thank you. Sorry about that. We had a nice, yeah, I'm sorry.
Could you send me did I get a copy of the Greene County one? I can't remember.
No,
So I
you
can send a
don't.
thank you note?
Sure.
Oh, that's my bad. I should have thought of that too.
Okay.
You've got to change that email address because they don't have they have the Fairpoint address from the cover letter. So I won't be getting things from them,
All right.
right?
I have to stop by. So that's 2 things I have to stop by there for. And I knew that and didn't get it done. I apologize.
I think that's it. Questions?
Okay, you want to fill us in on Live and Learn?
That was Live and Learn.
Did you tell us, did I miss something? Did you tell us about upcoming programs?
Yes, yes.
Sorry, I missed something. Sorry, I was looking. I think you asked a question. I started looking for an email and
Oh,
yep, blanked out. Thank you, Vicky. I apologize.
welcome. Sorry.
All right, Executive Committee. Nominating and governance. So the Executive Committee realized that it was wearing one too many hats. And so we are going to move forward with creating a personnel committee to handle personnel issues going forward, because the Executive Committee also serves as nominating and governance and has been handling a lot of the Finance Committee since Christy left as treasurer. So we've asked both Linda Romeo and Kim Grethen to be on the Personnel Committee, and we'll be looking for a couple of more people to join them. I'm going to be ex officio on that committee, and that'll be one less thing on the XCOM's plate. So, and I think it should work out well. Nominating and governance. Now that we have a book, now that as soon as Heather Kowalski is in place up and running as our bookkeeper, then I can revisit the treasurer position with a couple of folks who didn't want to take it without knowing how things operated. So I can revisit that conversation for a treasurer who would become the chair of the Finance Committee and do oversight, unlike Christy, who did it from soup to nuts. And that's it for the Executive Committee and nominating and governance. Is there any new business to come before the board tonight?
Hey, Rick, can I ask you about Heather Kowalski? Where does she come from, or what's her background?
She's the bookkeeper for Beth's Farm Kitchen.
Ah, so she's got profit. Does she have any nonprofit experience, or just no?
No, she's about to.
Good.
So yeah, she's and she's, I mean, she works with QuickBooks. She's very familiar with it. She looked at that list of 20 items that Christy put together,
Yeah.
and she went right through it and she said, yeah, sure. So,
Yay.
and she lives in Electric Park.
Ah,
Right.
On a personal note, her partner is Kurt, the pig farmer who owns and operates Lover's Leap.
Oh, neat.
And just as an aside, she's probably the most competent person I've ever worked with in my life. So
ooh.
Ah,
Nice, right?
That's saying a lot.
yes,
Mhm.
there is.
Oh yeah, you didn't see the books when Beth left.
Because many of us think you're the most competent person we've ever met.
Oh no. But thank you.
All right. So not hearing any new business. I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting. All right, I move it. Anybody, a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor, wave goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Hey, Rick, can I ask something? I know you just sent me an email that is confusing to me.
All right, why don't you and I talk? The board meeting is over, so we're going to let the board members
We
go.
need Liz then too, because that's when we have the kids program is during the library, so the kids are there with their parents.
I'm sorry. Say it again.
The kids programming is at the same time so that the parents are in the library, and they're using the library, and the kids are downstairs or outside. So The kids' programming is downstairs. It's not upstairs, and that's how it's been designed. And
It's a bad design, but we'll have to live with it. We should not be having any programming during library hours. It's for patrons. It's not for programs. That's what the hours are there for.
it's
But-
been working out really well to have the people, the adults upstairs using the library. I mean, I understand what you're trying to say there, but it's really working out with getting them into the library using it and not, dropping kids off or something.
Well, they're definitely not allowed to do that. That is also a policy. So we have a policy against children being at the library without parents.
Well, up into a certain age and then the
Yeah.
policy, but
I'd have
that's.
to read the policy, but yes.
But
All
that
right.
has been, and the summer program is the same kind of way. It's going to be here with parents up here. We're taking care of their kids. We're enrichment programs for the kids when the parents are here to use the library.
All right. I don't want to visit this again now, but it's not a great design. I understand you think it's great that the parents are using it, but kids make a lot of noise and libraries are supposed to be quiet places. So I'm sure it works out better when the kids are outside, but when they're in the basement and there's no way to close the door to the basement, it's just not ideal.
Has there been a noise issue? I don't ever remember there being any noise in the kids' programs or
No.
anything here upstairs.
No, listen, we're leaving it alone. I don't want to visit it anymore. The library adopted a policy on this, but if we're not going to follow it, then I'm leaving it alone.
I can check with what other libraries, how they do it and stuff, but it's really been working, for a long time this way.
Well,
Working. I mean, it's working.
I feel like we've gotten lucky that it's worked out because it's just contrary to a good structure. The idea being that libraries are quiet places and every other library that has program space has the ability to close the door and we just don't.
So we should look at that maybe, but it gets people in here, Rick. I mean, the people are using it. They're coming and using it. It's successful.
That's great.
So we're going to leave it like it is for now, Rick?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night, everybody.
All right. Good night.
Night.
Bye.